Hey you guys, so I've had a lot of questions about Evan's feedings and what we do as far as his feedings go and what kind of equipment we use for his feeding pump. And so I figured I would just do a quick video to kind of shed some light on that area. Evan first got his feeding tube when he was roughly around a year old. Now, Evan had to have his feeding tube put in place because he also has failure to thrive, which is just where he has trouble keeping weight on and gaining weight. Even with the feeding tube, this is still a struggle for him. He's going to be 5 on the 15th of September, and he only weighs roughly 34 pounds right now, so he's pretty small. But yeah, so we had trouble keeping weight on him and getting him to gain weight, so they placed the feeding tube. Evan did really well with the bottle before he had the feeding tube. He never was really able to eat baby food except for just like on occasion. Every once in a while, like when he was teething, he would eat some baby food, but only for maybe a week, and then he would go about a year, sometimes a year and a half, without eating anything by mouth after he got his feeding tube. So it wasn't that he couldn't eat, because he would drink every bottle you would give him. It was just the fact that we needed to get more calories in him so that he could put on more weight, so that we could increase his seizure meds, and because they're based on weight and height and age, and he just was not putting on enough weight. So anyway, he when he first got his feeding tube, had just a regular G tube. It was just pretty much a long tube that came out of his feeding site, and it got in the way of everything. I did not like that feeding tube. I was constantly worried that he was going to pull it out, just all kinds of stuff. So then he ended up, about 6 months later, getting the Mickey button, which he has now. I do like the Mickey button a lot more. It's closer to the skin. It's a lot more convenient. It's a lot more discreet. So if you have kiddos who are up and about, I know some of y'all's kids are walking or are somewhat mobile, that might be better as far as like going to school or self-esteem issues that some of them have. That way you can't really tell with a Mickey button that they even have a feeding tube, whereas the other one you could tell that it was under the clothing. Anyway, I have one of his Mickey buttons that's a spare that I'm going to grab in just a second and show you guys. And but first I wanted to tell you about when he got his feeding tube placed. So we went in. He had never had surgery before. The only thing that he had had before was a 5-hour-long sedated MRI. It was the only other time that he had sedation. He did do fine with the sedation, but it, like any parent, it worried us. I was a mess, and this was the first actual surgery that he was going to have where he had to have an incision site. So I was a huge blubbering mess that day. Luckily, my mother-in-law and my husband were there, and I mean, they put him to sleep in my arms and wheeled me back to the operating room with him in my arms on the bed. Then I placed him on the bed and left the room. He was in there for maybe 15 minutes. It wasn't very long at all. It was a very fast procedure, in and out, got it done real quick. The doctor was great. He, explained everything to us. The nurses were wonderful. Couldn't have asked for a better team. So anyway, that's the story of his feeding tube placement. He hasn't had any issues with it other than, like I said before in past videos, he likes to jerk it out, especially, if he has a seizure in the middle of the night, because he's on a continual feed at night, which I've got his feeding pump, and I will show you guys and just do a quick run through on it. he does 4 boluses a day, and then he does 12-hour continual at night, which now it's a 10-hour because we just changed it. So anyway, let me grab the Mickey button real quick. Okay, so this is the box that the Mickey button comes in. It's a Kimberly-Clark product, and it's the Mickey Low Profile Gastronomy Feeding Tube. It's a 12 French, 1.5 centimeter size. In this box, sorry, it fell out of the box. In this box, you get, which this is one that we have already opened and used some of the tubing, so we don't have everything. And I couldn't find his brand new box. It's around here somewhere, but we're moving stuff around, and I don't know where my husband has placed it. But you do, you get a bolus attachment tube, and that's one thing I don't particularly care for with the Mickey buttons, is that you have to have an attachment tube in order to feed him. With the other, like the regular G tube, you could just place the syringe down into the port on the tube, and it was already attached to him, and you could have fed him. With this set, you do have to have an attachment tube, which I'm pretty sure I got somewhere. I'll find it later. If not, then I'll just try my best to explain it to you guys. So this is what his Mickey button looks like, and it's got a port here on the side, and this is where you check his fluid levels. And you just take like a 3 cc syringe and put right here, and then you can check to see how much fluid he's got, if he needs more. We usually try to keep 3 in there. Some kids might need more, some kids might need less. Just talk to the doctor. But it opens up, and you want to keep it closed whenever it's in and you're not feeding. To feed, you open up, and if you can see, if it'll focus, right here on the front, you see this little line right here. So anyway, let me see if I've got the tube. I don't have the tube. I don't know what happened to it. I did have the tube. Anyway, yeah, it's gone. I don't know. Hey, will you go and look and see if you see one of his feeding tubes by the sink, please? I'm going to send Aiden to look. Anyway, when you go to feed them with the Mickey button, there will be an attachment tube. You will, there on the attachment tube is another line. You make sure that you push it in here. You're not going to hurt them. You have to push it kind of firmly. It's not going to hurt them. The only time it might bother them is like right after they end up getting the incision made for the tube placement, because it's a little bit tender. But that's with any operation or incision site. Anyway, you're going to line this line up with the line that is on the tube. So you'll see that. Oh, he did find it. Thank you, Aiden. Okay, so here is the Mickey button. Here is the tube. And you see where the line is that I was trying to tell you. Okay, so pretend my hand is Evan's tube site. So we're going to place this and see how the lines are lined up. Then you're going to press in, and you're going to turn until this is like this. Till this line on the tube is facing in the opposite direction as it was whenever you put it in to the Mickey button. So see, now I'm pulling pretty hard, and it's not going to come out. So whenever you feed them, you're just gonna, this is the only kind that we really like to use because we can do his meds in this port while we do his feeding in this port. So you're gonna just put his meds in here with a 60cc syringe. I have one of those right here. Right here. And you're just going to take the lid off of this, pull up the food. You've got this attached. So then you're going to place it into this port and you're going to feed them. And it's just going to come out right here. And it goes into their stomach. So that's how his feeding tubes work. Another option that you have is what's called a gravity feed. We usually do gravity feeds unless he's feeling kind of rowdy, because the only problem that we've really run into with the gravity feeds is he will knock them out of your hand. So it's just like a trial and error. Some kids really like the gravity feeds, some don't care either way. Some you really have to just watch, kind of like Evan sometimes. So what you're going to do for a gravity feed is you're going to take the formula, and this is the formula that Evan is on, which is a Pediasure with fiber, and it's a 1.5 cal per ml. So what that means is it's just 1.5 calories per milliliter. This is an 8-ounce can. There's 237 milliliters in this can. So you are getting roughly 350 calories per can. So pretend the can is open. To do the gravity feed, it's really simple. This is hooked up to the child. You're just going to hold this. This is hooked up to this. You're going to pour. I would not do past 40 cc's. You can see on here 40 cc's. I would not do past 40 cc's if you're going to do a gravity feed. But anyway, you're just going to pour this, hold it up. The higher you hold it, the quicker it will go. The lower you hold it, the slower it'll go. So you're going to do that. It'll just go down. Keep pouring. So that about covers that. This other thing that I was going to show you guys is, let me get this out of the way. Evan's feeding machine. Let me see if I can turn my camera. Okay, so this is what is called a kangaroo joey. And I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Hopefully. Not really, but I'll try my best to explain it. Okay, so right now I always just keep the settings because it's loaded with the settings that we use for Evan on a nightly basis. So it's got adjust feed, adjust flush, and more. Right now he's at a feed rate of 60 mLs, and this runs about 10 hours. So, but you've got buzzer increase and decrease volume. You've got history, which is just going to tell you like the current hours that are not included. You can hold up to 72 hours on this, different language settings, whether you want it to be continuous or intermittent. And then you can do adjust the flush volume and the flush interval. You also can do adjust the feed rate and the feed VTBDs, and which is the volume. And so anyway, that's pretty much it. And whenever you first turn it on, you've got to hold it down for 3 seconds to turn it off. But anyway, whenever you first turn it on, if it'll pop up, you have the option to clear the settings or keep the settings. But then you're also gonna before you hook it up to the child, this is very important. you will want to flush the line. What I mean by that is, feed the line. You want to feed the formula through the line. And I've got one of his feeding bags here. He uses a 1,000 ml feeding bag. So, this is the feeding bag. Your formula is going to go in here. This is going to hook up to the Kangaroo Joey. And you should have a home health that is able to show you how to use this. But if you're like me and you have about 50 million things going on while the home health is there, you ain't going to remember all of it. So, this video will hopefully help you to reference the instructions and what you need to know. Anyway, so you see this line full of air. It will give them a bad stomach ache if you feed the air into their stomach. Just like with us, if we drink a lot of soda and it, you know, or get a lot of air in our stomach, it's going to hurt us too. So anyway, feed the line and make sure that the food is through the line. And what we do is make sure that it's through the tube, through the line, through the tube. And then we hook it up to him and then run the machine. And when I say run the machine, that means start. So, I hope that this video has helped you guys. I know that a lot of you guys have kids that are on these machines. There are hundreds upon hundreds of different feeding machines. And, you know, this machine might work for your child. It might not. You might find it to just really be annoying and get on your nerves. But anyway, I hope that the video has helped. If y'all have any other questions, please feel free to ask. Anything that I can help y'all with, I will try my hardest to do. And if there's anything else that y'all want to know, just a message away. So I will see you guys later. I've took up almost 18 minutes of your time, but hopefully it helps you to understand this a little bit better. I will see you guys later.